We're back at it.
If we lose another podcast, I'm out. I'm done.
Done. I mean, I don't blame you. It doesn't bother me that much for two reasons, and I'll tell you why. The first one, and way less than the second one, is that everything is a rep. You fail, you get better. We're not pros at this.
We're not getting better. We continue to lose them.
No, but we get better. The production morons are the issue. We're fine. I mean,
we've gotten good. We've gotten good at this.
Yeah, and we're getting better and better every time we do it.
They've been calling you One Take Jake lately. You did one take on the intro and used to be like stumbling, going crazy.
Yeah, stumbling around like a drunk, but no. So that's one thing. The second reason why it doesn't bother me as much, and this is probably why it bothers you as much. You go nuts. When we lose a pod, you go nuts.
You know why I go nuts? All right, tell me what
I'm
you're
going to tell you why I go nuts. The podcast studio is in my house. So it's easy. I just walk out back. Like, it doesn't bother me that much.
For me, it's a big brick of my day.
I know.
To like figure out when I was working and I wasn't gainfully unemployed. It was like I have to like schedule and move things around and pray I don't work. And now it's like, all right, now I'm training in the morning, training at night, going to this, going to that. And it's like, when can I figure out this brick? And more so than that, I came out with fire last time.
You did. You came out hard last time.
I have good stuff, and it's just what I'm thinking about at the time. It's not a bit. It's just like off the top.
It's on the fly. And then when you try to recreate it, it sounds bad, and it sounds forced, and it's not good.
I never want to try to recreate what I was saying before. Yeah. Like, today's problems are so different than yesterday's problems, like the things I was thinking about. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, screw you.
We have nothing for you, yeah.
And if you're watching this podcast, and I know that you are,
like,
get out of your feels, Dwayne.
Yeah, we did what we thought was an amazing podcast, and you couldn't get it together. And then we rescheduled an amazing podcast, and we
got ghosted.
Yeah, ghosted. So Dwayne Johnson, boo.
There was something else that I was talking about last.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what you're talking about. The feels of Andrew Sanchez.
Who?
Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Schultz.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
The feels.
That part is going to be hard to recreate.
You can't recreate it. So it's gone now.
I guess I can give.
No. So I'm going to give the quick version of the Andrew Schultz story. It was heartfelt, but I'm going to say it because you're going to recreate it, and then you're just going to like drag on because
I'm going to feel gross about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not right. Look, Andrew Schultz put this like very heartwarming, like video up on Instagram where he brought his father to Madison Square Garden. Said, hey, I'm going to be headlining this. Everyone told that, when I told you that as a kid, you told me I know you are. And he believed in him from the start. Brandon kind of had a very similar situation with his grandfather where, nobody really believed in him. He was getting in fights in school. His mom sent him to Colorado, stay with his grandparents for a little bit. And he started jiu-jitsu. And his grandfather flew out to London when he had a tournament out there and was, drove him every day, 45 minutes each way. And then, as Brandon asked him to go to his professional debut coming up, and he couldn't do it. It was Thanksgiving, a lot of stuff. Anyway, long story short, Grandpa calls him back and is like, hey, I wouldn't miss it for the world. I'm going to be there. Cliff notes over. Yeah. Right, I did you justice.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to feel gross about it.
No, because that was so good. It was like, man, we've had some good times on this show where it's just like we like dropped the mic, and it was good. And then we had to do the whole podcast after that. The problem is right now I'm cutting weight, so I gave everything I had into that monologue. My heart was on the table, and we're like, how do we finish this? And then we had to do the entire fight card right after that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, well,
that's it. Before we get going, let's talk about the last card a little bit. I want to do a quick recap because it was one of the weirdest cards we've seen in a while. So many of the fights got canceled.
Hold on. Before we do this,
what are we doing?
I'm wearing what I'm wearing, and this part I don't want to let slip through a second podcast.
Okay. And before he talks about what he's wearing.
Okay, no. There's no words needed.
No, but we have to discuss this a minute.
Okay.
Because you came into my house with a shirt buttoned.
Yes.
You were in here with your shirt buttoned.
Yes.
We were doing mic checks and everything with your shirt buttoned.
Yes.
You got up, came around to look at the computer to make sure everything looked good, and I look over and your shirt was unbuttoned.
I was trying to seduce you.
Yes, it worked.
So, and then, have you seen the Ilya Taporia call out when he called out Bryce Mitchell?
No.
Look. Somebody clip this. Enzo, can you see me when I stand up? All right, look. He just does a little something like this, just like a little like hand in the pocket, and just like a little like ab showing and like this. And then I'm just gonna tag MMA Guru. Fuck you, MMA Guru. That's it. That's all I got. All right, now we can continue the show.
The MMA Guru is a whole inside joke thing too. That we went hard and
because I don't know him.
Yeah.
I've never seen
know
the
him at
show.
all. We were just randomly talking about random people,
Talking shit to
and
him.
that was a guy who's like, I don't even know the guy. Like, who'd be anyway. A lot of inside stories that none of you guys get, but it doesn't matter. We're here. We're having fun. Brandon's shirtless. I'm still aged and old. And last week was a really weird card in terms of everything. Armin Hidalgo got cut like right before it happened.
He got poisoned. Brazil,
die. Rybovics. We went through the whole monologue with Kamuela and like talking about the whole thing.
When we get gay on this podcast, it always gets cursed. Everything gets canceled when we get gay.
That's probably a good idea.
Let's go robotic. Let's be very normal.
Then what else did we have fall off? We had a couple other fights fall off, and we were
Bomb
Theme was bombed. The gayest thing the world has ever seen was Almeida and Derek Lewis spooning.
Can you just repeat that though? That was funny.
Man, I'll give the quick, again, we'll go cliff notes on it because like I thought that fight was going to end under 3. Almeida, I did an interview with someone. Doesn't even matter who at this point.
This guy's being modest.
Name doesn't matter.
ESPN, he's name dropping.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Name doesn't matter. So I did an interview and I was breaking that fight down. And I was talking about Almeida and what he had to do with paths of victory. And he needed to shoot with his head on the outside, shoot low. And he does a really good job of entangling fighters where they tip over. And he did that with Derek Lewis. He would shoot. Lewis would defend a shot, and then he would slide lower and entangle the ankles, and he would tip over. Man, it was looking good right from the start. It was like, oh, this is easy. And then so you kind of thought, all right, either the nuclear option happens with Lewis, or Almeida gets a takedown, gets mount, punches him, chokes him out. Almeida got a takedown, got mount, punched him, went for a choke, didn't choke him out. And this went on for 5 rounds, but at one point, these are 2 men in primetime television. One of them Almeida has Derek Lewis's back. They're like holding each other on the side. At one point, Almeida lets his hooks out. Neither of them are throwing a punch. Neither of them are trying to move. Neither are trying to advance. And they're just lying there, spooning each other, like snuggling on a mat. And this went on for 5 rounds. And I couldn't believe it. And I can't believe that fight occurred for 25 minutes of that, which is just horrible. Other than that, I think all in all, the picks did well. People did well. A lot of new signups.
Yeah, thank you guys for all signing up. Like I told everybody, like this is the week. We got really close. So the thing is, bare knuckle. I put together a core. I've gotten very good at putting together a core set of people. They're always chalk. I don't care. I don't make the odds. We bet into them. We try to wait till they're widely available on DraftKings and MGM and all that stuff. But I put together a good core, and that's usually like it's pretty dependable. Like when I put together 3, 4, 5 guys, they're gonna win. So top line won, second line lost, and that sucked. But a lot of people paired that
CFFC did well.
CFFC almost swept. The only one that lost was an underdog in a very close fight. So we did good, and we got a lot of new people, and I'm getting closer to fight time, so I'm going to be peeling back just a little bit, but we're still going to have some good action, good stuff. And honestly, the guys in the group do a lot more stuff than we do.
There's a ton of other stuff besides MMA. I mean, there's NFL. I mean, there's basketball. There's a lot of stuff going on. So that's
a fun place to be. So it's cool.
It's fun. Well, let's get into this week's fight card. Before we do, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and please download or subscribe or whatever the hell you do on iTunes and Spotify and all of that good stuff. We'll see you on the Patreon if you guys want to join. All links are in the show notes. So let's get going on UFC 295. It's in Madison Square, which is actually how the whole Andrew Schultz thing got brought up, because we're talking about Madison Square Garden.
Well, this dude doubled down on me. He doubled down on me, and it. Oh, God, I love Andrew Schultz, right? Like during the COVID times, that's when everybody found him. You went to his show. He's so funny.
I didn't even know who he was until he had that show that he put up on Amazon or somebody bought it, but then they wanted him to take a bunch of the stuff out. And
Yeah,
he
it was
wouldn't.
Netflix, and then he took it back.
Yeah. And then, so Kindle, my wife just happened to buy it because she just liked the idea of what he did. Never even watched it, never watched the download. And then at some point we were just bored. And I was like, what was that comedian? And she's like, oh, Andrew Schultz. And you had always been talking about him.
Always, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's the guy Brandon's always talking about. And so that's how I found him.
So what's funny about that set is that was the Infamous tour, and he came to Arizona and went to the Tempe Improv, like a smaller venue. It's not huge. And so I saw him there, and tickets were like $30 or something like that. You buy 2 drinks, whatever. Great night. He was so funny. He's doing a ton of crowd work. He honestly probably was on stage for about an hour and a half, and like 45 minutes of it was crowd work, and it was hilarious, and it's so funny. And then I was like, and that was before the Infamous tour. Then he announces the Infamous tour, and I don't know why in my mind I was like, oh, the tour is going to be different than what I just saw. So I spent $2,000 between hotel rooms, flights, everything, going to Vegas to go watch the Infamous tour, which was the exact same set as what I had just seen at the Tempe Improv for $60. So I was pretty pissed off. And then he releases it on.
I actually saw him recently, and it was the very first show of his tour. Downtown Phoenix. I forget the
with new material. I don't know.
I forget the little one, but yeah, there's 500, 600, 700 people in the audience. It was really cheap, and you could tell he was working some jokes.
Yeah.
And then you see the skit as he went on to bigger and bigger and bigger venues throughout the tour doing this stuff, and like you could tell it was more refined. But
yeah,
it's kind of fun to see him at the start of a tour in these small little intimate places.
Honestly, it's way better.
It's way better. So it really is way better.
But he doubled down on me today, and this is why. So we talked about the whole emotional thing, guys. If you haven't seen that video, please go on his Instagram. It's gonna make you cry. If it doesn't make you cry, like, please don't ever contact me, because you have no soul, no heart. I don't want to talk to you, because I was crying like a baby. And then today, this guy. He gets on the subway. He gets on the freaking subway to go to Madison Square Garden to like shoot the promo video. Do you know my whole thing with the subway in the New York?
And Jay-Z and the whole thing.
Jay-Z got on the subway with my girl Ellen, who actually, because of me, so
I bought her paintings.
I bought her paintings, and then she became an MMA fan. She's like, she goes, I don't know what you're doing in the cage, but whatever it is, I think it's awesome. She's like 90 years old. She's like 80 or 90 years old. I don't know how she knows how to work Instagram. And she goes, because of whatever you're doing, I'm a fan. I like this MMA stuff. But I think he did the subway thing to Madison Square Garden as an homage to that.
To Jay-Z
video,
and the whole thing, yeah.
Which is why it's just like, it's tugging at my heartstrings even more. I'm like, oh my God, every day.
I love it, man. Schultz is the man.
You just love seeing someone be successful.
Yes.
It's just such a cool thing.
Especially on his own terms.
We're doing like MMA breakdowns and bets after dark on this one.
It is after dark. Well, let's get going on this. First time around we went top to bottom. We switched it up, but this isn't yesterday.
It's not the same feel. You were so gung-ho about yesterday.
Yeah. That's fine. I have to edit the audio anyway. It'll move a little bit, but make note of this edit when we're talking right here, so I can edit it through. Yeah, I'll just fix it all. All right. Well, let's get into this card. We're going Dennis Bazooka, Jamal Emmers is first, and they switched it. Tapology always switches up the fight order and stuff.
Yeah.
Yesterday when we talked, this was like middle of the card.
Yeah, it was.
Threw me off. Like I was expecting, I don't know what the hell I was expecting, but not that. Dennis Bazooka, Jamal Emmers, go. I know you love you some Dennis Bazooks.
No, I don't love Dennis. Like I wouldn't,
love him.
I wouldn't marry the guy. I wouldn't marry the guy. Travis Scott, I would marry, but not Dennis Bazooka. I think I like him in this matchup, and here's the reason. Dennis, very similar body type to Jack Jenkins. The Jack Jenkins fight was super, super close fight. I think people are generally really low on Dennis Bazooka and some lackluster performances. Producer, can you stop with the feet? We're going to have to fire you too, Enzo. I'm not afraid to fire a kid.
Yeah.
We got child labor, but you got to chill. No, for me, Jamal Emmer's fight style, Jamal Emmer is really talented. I think the guy is really, really good everywhere, but him constantly skirting the outside of the cage, right? And Dennis Bazooka is a good striker. He's not a bad striker. Like you said on the last pod, he's good everywhere, not great anywhere, but decent takedown defense, good striking. I think in New York with the crowd going crazy, him being the hometown guy, Jamal skirting the edge, and then we're just going to kind of see a striking match. And I think he can defend enough takedowns from Jamal to make this really close. I understand why everybody's on Jamal. I totally get it. I have a weird feeling on this one that Dennis makes this fight really, really close and really stinky. He took that last fight on 4 days notice. I think I like Dennis in this matchup here.
I would like Dennis better if he was a little bit better in one area anywhere. Just give me something a little bit more. I feel like, first of all, I thought Jamal Emmers won the Jack Jenkins fight.
I thought he clearly won the fight.
And Emmers looks really... At the start of fights, he looks loose and weird and awkward and gangly, and he's like moving around and he looks athletic, but he doesn't look technical. And then as the fight progresses, he settles into himself. He finds his jab. His hands are a little bit closer. He checks kicks, and you see him kind of set stuff up, not at random, but a little more systematically. You see him using his jab. You see him firing the low kick. You see him drawing people in and pulling away a little bit. But more than anything is when he decides to wrestle like that. I mean, he is a really, really good wrestler, and he's got good cardio and he's got good hips. And I think on this fight, Bazooka he fought Woodson in the last fight. And Woodson's tall, and he fought him on short notice. So
Woodson's super awkward, too.
It's very awkward. But just the speed of Woodson in the movement of Woodson gave Bazooka a lot of trouble. I mean, forget about the height, but we know the height is going to give him trouble. Yeah. But the speed in the movement. And Jamal Emmers is fast and moves a lot. And when Bazooka would get close to Woodson does that little shoulder roll,
Yeah.
And Bazooka was able to get off a little bit. Emmers isn't going to do that. He's going to clinch, or he's going to exit out, or he's going to shoot. So I don't think he's going to have that success in close with Emmers like he did with Woodson because of the stylistic difference. And I think if Emmers wrestles often, I think he could really do some good things. And I mean, he battled it out with Giga, and I know that's a different fight, and I know Giga's better now than he used to be, but man, that loss has really shown really well. And yeah, so I like Emmers here. I think it's going to be a decision. I don't think either of these guys is going to be able to finish each other, but I think Emmers is going to get his hand raised in the end.
This whole card just mixed up really weirdly. All right, well, next up we have Joshua Van and Kevin Borjas.
So, man, the story about Borjas, we saw him on the Contender. And
guys, let me give you the cliff notes on this story. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes,
this was actually a good story. This is why I hate going to second pod, because it was so good. We gave guys, we were like Jordan in the flu game. I was in the middle of the day. I'm cutting weight. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. That was the Jordan flu game.
And you showed up and you performed. And when the mics turned off, you fell over and collapsed. But we won the game.
All right.
And we're in the back. Borjas is fighting on the Contender Series. And he's fighting, is it Victor Diaz? Is that the Diaz?
Yeah.
Victor Diaz. And
big old knucklehead, bald
just
guy.
like a grappling, put you to the cage, take you down, end up on top type of situation. And Borjas's corner, Borjas is warming up. And it's the weirdest, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like he's doing nothing but spinning wheel kicks, just like spinning wheel kick, moving, spinning wheel kick, moving again. It could have been any move, but it was some random move like that had nothing to do with takedown defense and like sprawling and like an uppercut or trying to time something coming in. Super random, weird thing that he was doing. Then finally, and he does literally just that. Then they call him out like, Borjas, you're up, this and that. And he starts walking out to follow them. And then he just walks back to the mat. And they're like, come on, let's go. And he's like, yeah, I don't care.
No comprende.
Yeah. And then he just does and I counted 10 sprawls, just like sprawl, come up, jump, sprawl, come up, jump as fast as he could. And they're like, dude, come on. Just literally that 10 sprawls, jumps at the top, does that, walks out. And me and Eddie Cha, who are there cornering, I think it was Junior Cortez, are looking at each other like, like, this is the worst warm-up we've ever seen. Like, this is unreal. And then he goes out there and just like wins, and really good fight, you know, defended some takedowns and whatever, but it was just the most random thing ever. And Borjas is fighting Tyson Nam now. So we have two strikers. Tyson Nam, not Tyson Nam, jeez. Oh my gosh, I'm wrong. I'm glad you looked at me. Tyson Van. Not Nam, Tyson Van.
That's what's going to get us canceled. You got to be a little chill.
I just got canceled. Tyson Van. You guys know I can't
His
pronounce
name's not Tyson Van either.
Yeah, what is he?
It's Josh.
What am I doing?
Josh.
Turns out I don't even know who this guy. Jeez. I'm just, it's an Asian guy with an N at the end of his name, and I just went there.
Look
Joshua
like
Van.
Yakuza.
Yeah. Joshua Van. My God, why am I thinking Tyson Nam? Anyway, Joshua Van is a very clean striker. He's tiny for the division. He does a lot of stuff really well. He has really good head movement. He has really good footwork. His hands are always up, and he's rolling, and he's throwing in the pocket and exiting. Even against Zalgis, they said that he hasn't spent a lot of time grappling or even in MMA. But man, his sprawl was great. He was whizzing down, coming up,
super athletic kid,
doing the right stuff. But he is tiny. Borjas is actually big, kind of for a 25er. He's a big guy. I like how Borjas punches. He just stabs his punches and goes with these big power shots, and I love it. This is going to be a competitive fight. Both these guys are good strikers. The difference to me, though, is Borjas' chin. That thing, he just sticks it out as he's punching and throwing and going. And because of that, I think Van is going to clip him. I think that chin is going to be there. Even if it doesn't really hurt him, the optics of it, I think, are going to look bigger when he swings and gets rattled off balance than when Van gets hit and is kind of rolling and doing the right stuff. I like Van here. I think he's solid. I don't know that Borjas is going to be able to mix up from wrestling or anything to really take him out, but I think the bigger punches are going to go to Borjas. And I think the overall slickness and kind of in the pocket and volume is going to go to Van, and I like Van here.
I like both these guys a lot. Like, I understand. I think I said this on the last one too. I understand the people taking dog shots on Borjas. Like, I think it's a relatively close-ish matchup. But the thing is Borjas is spamming 1-2s the entire fight, where Joshua Van has a full repertoire of things. And the thing that I like most is, first of all, the composure that he has. That Zalgis fight was super impressive. I don't know why we're so high on Zalgis for some reason.
I have no idea. I just seem like
he just seems like a brute. Like, he can just kind of do everything. He always loses.
He's an ape. But like he just seems so much better than his wins.
Yeah, and he's been robbed a few. It's just the whole thing. So we're really high on him. But to see his composure at literally the age of 22, when I was 22, it was not that way. It was not that way. But he just takes deep breaths, comes forward, just totally chill. Nothing bothers him. Full repertoire, kicks, punches. He's very, very dynamic, very diverse. And I think you're right. The way to beat Joshua Van is going to be grappling, clearly. Now we have two strikers, one guy that does a little bit of everything and is very calm, very composed, lots of volume, versus the guy who's spamming really hard and really aggressive, really good looking 1-2s, but 1-2s, and that's it. The price,
but telegraphed 1-2s as well. Like, they're big. Like, they're
kind of, yeah. Like he does the lunge back and then lunge forward. It's like he loads up.
The lights are on or the lights are off. There's not a lot of in between on that.
And that's the thing is you talk about it a lot, kind of filling that space in between. The fighting is in the not fighting, and Joshua Van, I think, does a really good job of that. Price is a little wide, I think, but I think Josh is like the future. I think he's really solid. So I like Joshua Van here.
All right, moving along, we've got John Castaneda and Kyung Ho Kong. Give us your thoughts on this. Go on this, because I know you like both these guys a lot. We've taped both these guys a lot. And this is going to be, I think, it's going to be a sad moment for you.
Yeah, I love John Castaneda. I think the dude does everything well. He's got amazing fight IQ. And like the Miles Johns fight was one of my favorites, right? Because like John he knows what he's got to do, right? He knows he's got to wear these guys out. He knows, switch stances. Everything he does is really educated and really, really smart, really clean. Switching stances, the strikes that he throws from each stance is really clean. When to wrestle, when to lay off, takedown defense, standing back up. Like, I love his fight IQ. That being said, he's fighting Mr. Perfect, who literally just has, I mean, he's perfect. I mean, he just, I love his jab. I love his low kicks. He can wrestle when he needs to. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's fast. He's sharp. He stays defensively responsible. I think John is winning a lot of these fights against guys that are a little bit smaller, shorter, and are willing to gas themselves out, right? And then he comes on late. Whereas Kong, he's willing. He can go 15 minutes. He can put together a clean 15, jab, stick, move, put together a full, beautiful 15 minutes. And that's the real cliff notes that I had. We did like 25 freaking minutes on this one, but I like Kong a lot here.
Yeah, the thing with Kong is first of all, he's tall for the division. He's tall and long, and he uses his range well, and he uses his jab really well, and so that's going to make him even longer and taller and harder to get on the inside.
He's plus 123 right now.
Kong is?
Yep.
That is wild to me.
Yeah, me too.
If you've watched Kong from the start of his UFC career to now, you're going to notice his stance has switched a little bit for the better. He used to square up his shoulders a little bit and almost looking to load that jab a little bit or looking for a lead hook, and he's narrowed that lead shoulder a little bit, and that makes him harder to hit further away and makes his jab closer to the target and more effective. He snipes the jab. He snipes the right hand. His takedown defense is good. We saw him get chain wrestled by Yaya, but Yaya is a sticky wrestler. Like,
he's not a good wrestler. He's a good grappler. And
he's a good grappler.
Pulls guard to come up and
But
climb.
even when he shot, he would shoot, get stuffed, and Yaya would just hang on an ankle and bundle it and wrap it and continue to go. And little by little, systematically caught Kong, like he got behind on him. Castaneda will wrestle, but it's kind of like a one and done. He either gets a shot or he doesn't get the shot. It's not like this amazing chain wrestling, and it's not MMA chain wrestling where you're tying an ankle up or you're butterflying them and lifting them and really getting them off balance. It's kind of like he's shooting and he gets it or doesn't. With Castaneda, the thing that I think his cardio deficiency is a little overrated. We saw him in the Willie Cat fight, gas out, but I think that was more adrenaline trying to finish than anything. I think Castaneda has really good cardio, and the real issue with Castaneda is which one shows up. And sometimes Castaneda is in your face and he's mixing up his wrestling and he's throwing punches and he's on you and he's in your face. And other times he'll sit on the outside and try and be a little bit too technical. If he stays on the outside and tries to be a little too technical, it's going to be bad for him. His best strike is his left high kick. When he switches stances, he'll dart his left hand, then he goes with the left high kick, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful strike. We saw him land on Willie Cat. We saw him land that a lot on Miles Johns. Kong is taller and he's longer, and I don't think he's going to fall victim to that as much.
He keeps everything in front of him so well.
And I think the only way Castaneda is going to land that kick is if he's brawling him on the inside and off of some space he throws off of a break somewhere. Because on the outside and distance, I don't think it's going to be set up. Castaneda also shells up really well and moves left and right in his stance well. And that leads him to block looping punches, hooks, and overhands really well. But he gets hit with stuff right down the middle. And he just, and a lot of that is this forward pressure because he doesn't always put punches behind, or he doesn't always walk forward behind punches. He'll walk forward and then get hit. And if he walks forward and people throw bombs on him, he's defensively sound on the sides of his face, but not in front of his face. I could see Castaneda winning this fight with a very good game plan of like pressure and mixing looping punches and wrestling, just like we saw with Dana Bajariel. When he was on the outside, he was getting eaten up. But when he pressed and just swung and got on the inside, man, he rocked Kong and did a lot of really good stuff in there.
I think the big difference, though, between Dana and John Castaneda is the power in the hands.
Yes, I think you're
and
right.
that's major.
And I like Kong here. I spent a lot of time watching this because our boy Rusty on the Patreon Discord asked me to like take a look at this. And so I did, and I really went back and forth quite a bit. And I think the simple answer and the short answer is I like Kong here because I think Castaneda is going to spend too much time trying to figure out how to get inside. I would like Castaneda more if I talked with him and his coaches and they're like, hey, I'm going to press him and I'm going to press him and go. But the other thing is we heard a rumor that Castaneda might be asking for a catch weight, which I don't know the details on that. But if that's true, it leads me to believe something's a little off as well.
Oh. Not good.
So,
Those Minnesota tacos.
next up, we're not going to speak about this one much. Jared Gordon, Mark Madsen. Mark's my boy. He's done numerous camps with us, came out here, moved his whole family out here. Every time we mention Mark Madsen, I tell you guys this. His wife was sick with a really bad case of MS. I mean, I say really bad case, like as if there's not bad. There's a good
minor.
case.
Yeah.
I mean, but she was having a hard time out here. He has 2 kids. He didn't have a family out here, familial support out here. So they moved back to Denmark, where just the care is so much better for something like that. And Mark spent most of his time in Denmark, and then he went to Morocco a little bit with Nasprat. Man, just solid human, really good guy. I hope he wins. Jared Gordon's really, really good and really tough, and has shown a lot of really good stuff in his fights too. I hope Mark wins it.
That's all I got. Fun.
Yep. Moving along to, I think the name brand Dennis Bazooka. We've got Nazim Sadykhov versus Vasilev Borshov. This is a fun fight as a whole.
Great fight.
I don't want to see either of these guys lose because they're both awesome, but I'm really glad they're fighting, and it's too bad that somebody has to lose.
Maybe it could be a draw. Who knows?
You shut your whore mouth. It is not going to be a draw. It's not going to be a no contest. Somebody needs to die, and there will be blood. Man, if you told me if breaking down fights is hard, because as a coach, it's a lot easier. I see what I see, and I see things that our fighters have that they're good at. I see weaknesses in our fighters. I see the other fighters' weaknesses and strengths, and I match what I think we can do with where their holes are and this and that, because I have the power to actually do something about it. Breaking down fights is...
What's their game plan? How are they feeling?
Yes.
Like every little thing.
Right? And so you think about, like, how will this go down? And then somebody just goes left of center, and they just pull an audible, and you have no idea what's going to happen. And this is one of those, if Sadykhov would actually wrestle a bit, I could actually see him kind of like strike, clinch, drag down, and kind of one-sided decision this, in the sense of like he could tactically do this I wouldn't say easily, but almost like systematically.
Well, there's a path to victory. And
yeah, there's a very clear path to victory. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going on there swinging.
I think he's got a bit of an ego on him, and he wants to swing.
He wants to put on a show.
And he's a good striker.
And I think he is in-your-face power. His arms are a little bit wide, which is going to open him up to that body work of Borshov. And I think because he wants to show, and it's this big live crowd in New York City, I think the moment's going to get to him a little bit. And I think he's going to come out hot. And I think eventually he'll slow down. And the thing with Slava is he's always calm. From the start of a fight to the end of a fight, he just has ice in his veins. And he is a little chinny. I don't even know if he is a little chinny. He's been hit with punches that have hurt him.
Kenley St. Louis almost killed him.
Yes. So he can be hurt with punches. We saw with Chris Duncan. I think he's going to know what Sadykhov is going to be doing, though, and so I don't think there will be as much of a surprise. And if you watch Slava in the Mahashate fight, he didn't go out there and just start swinging and going and get clipped with anything. He went out there hands high, feinting, pressing the distance, pulling the distance, rolling his head, and really was calculated. And when he started to turn it on, he really knew what Mahashate was throwing at him ahead of time. He didn't go out there and coin toss anything. And I think his head movement, his high guard, his rolling his punches, and then his body work is eventually going to lead to, I don't know if it's going to be a finish, because these guys are both just really good and
more
really
successful
tough.
In the striking.
But yes, I think it's going to be some very dominant exchanges by Slava after the 3-minute mark of round 1 into the rest of the fight. And I think Slava ends up winning this.
I like Slava's skinnier body, and I really mean that. Like Nazim is a really, really good striker, really educated striker. The guy is just solid everywhere, does everything well. But I like the way that Slava's body moves a little bit more than Nazim. Nazim's a little bit more muscle bound, a little bit slower, just a tad bit. Very good striker still, but just a tad bit slower. And I think that that Slava's in and out movement, his combinations and the body work. I mean, the guy is an excellent striker. I mean, he's a phenomenal striker. I can't believe he's an underdog. I mean, I guess I could see this fight as close to a pick'em. I guess the one thing that you always have to worry about is that someone does come out and wrestle Slava. But the thing about Slava is that now he's had a few fights in the UFC. He knows that that's what people are looking for on him, obviously, right? So he has to be working that at alpha male every day, doing that stuff. I like Slava in the spot. You hit all the technical parts. I like Slava here.
Okay. Well, I just noticed, so we've got Tabitha Ricci and Lupi Godinez next. But above that, we have Mateusz Rebeski and Roosevelt Roberts added to the card, which wasn't there yesterday.
Yeah, it was a late replacement. I figured we skipped that one.
What is the...
Nurolo Aliev. He broke his leg, and then they found Rebecki to
come up. Okay, we'll touch on it really quickly. I didn't watch tape on this at all. We just saw it. I mean, Rebeski was in camp ready for this.
He's minus 600 and Roosevelt's plus 450. I mean,
look, Roosevelt's tough.
I like Roosevelt.
Yeah, but man, Rebeski on 4 days' notice.
It's tough, but I think Roosevelt could do it.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think he could do it. I think he's a great striker. And again, he's athletic. He's big. Rebecki has shown cardio issues in the past. Why couldn't Roosevelt do it? Why can't he be the MVP of the league? Why?
Okay, we're going Roosevelt Roberts here. Just hands down, all your money.
Rose. Did you get that reference? Derek Rose, why can't I be MVP of the league? Why?
I don't know basketball. You guys know I don't know basketball.
It fit perfectly. I didn't mean for it to fit like that, but Roosevelt.
When you explain something, then it's not cool anymore.
No, it's cool. You guys take that one.
Yeah, we're done. All right. Tabitha Ricci, Lupi Godinez. Do you want to talk about this one? I mean, this is close to home, right?
It's close to home. Lupi broke my heart. We were supposed to go on a date when she came to Arizona. She was maybe going to do a fight camp. Broke my heart. Dated her wrestling coach. So sad. Tabitha, I never really met her before.
Have you? You've never met Tabitha, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I met her once at
band camp.
Yeah, at a fan sign, meet and greet type of thing. She signed an autograph.
No, I trained with Tabitha for a week. Again, the cliff notes here. I think Lupi is a better striker in fights, I guess I should say. On the mitts, Tabitha looks really good to me. She moves well. She works with Saxon Muay Thai. She does a lot of good things. And then in fights, for some reason, she gets this weird, little chin up, little bobbing around, doing some kind of weird stuff. But one thing I will say, per capita, per her body mass, I held mitts for Tabitha one day, and she's probably the hardest hitter based on the size of her body. She's a very small human being, but she hits harder than probably a lot of guys, and I think people don't really realize that about Tabitha. The second thing is she's game, and the thing that I worry about with Lupi here is Lupi will wrestle girls and take them down, and she'll kind of zip in and out with her hands, but she constantly makes really bad decisions with jiu-jitsu. She finished, I think it was Silvana Gomez Juarez with the armbar, but she literally had her back and then decided to bail on the back to go for a belly down armbar. Lucky she got it. But if she doesn't, and she's not going to get something like that on Tabitha, it won't happen. One, Tabitha will let her arm break before she taps to that. And two, her jiu-jitsu is infinitely better than Silvana Gomez Juarez and Lupi. I think that Tabitha is... I've seen a lot of her sparring clips, and I've seen a lot of her sparring clips with top girls in the world, and she's won every single round that I've ever seen. She fills the space, fills the volume. Even if it's not good, it's weirdly effective in it filling the space. And I think if Lupi tries to wrestle, she's going to wear on her own gas tank, and I think Tabitha can go forever, and she's just so grindy. We'll come up, we'll wrestle, we'll just push and push and push and push, press the wrestling, press the takedowns. I think she's just a super athlete. And then, the big conspiracy is Callum Walsh, her boyfriend, is fighting in New York City same week. I think the UFC, that's Dana's boy, know what's going to happen. So cash the Callum Walsh Tabitha Ricci parlay. Yep.
All right. Lupi, she has good. The thing is, it takes two people to do anything. If we're wrestling and you're trying to take me down and I'm just stiff arming and running away. You're never going to take me down. The second I try to engage wrestling, okay, now you have a shot to take me down. You can engage. Same thing is true with, with grappling, but the same thing is true with boxing. And Loopy's boxing is very good. She has good high guard. She has a good technical boxing foundation. She doesn't jab much. It's all power. And she waits for people to come to her, and then she swings on them. And she swings well. I mean, she's an alligator. Somebody touches it, and she's chomping down, and she's biting. But we saw it with the Angie Hill fight. She doesn't adjust well to movement. And Tabitha is a mover. We saw her in her last fight against Jillian Robertson, where she did such a good job of inching laterally both sides and just redirecting left, right, striking. Striking. Geez, I'm an idiot. Throwing hands, mixing hands to the head, body, and then kicks. And the kicks were to the legs and the head, and just mixing everything. And Robertson, and look, I get it. Loopy's a much more complete striker than Jillian. But forget about Jillian. Let's look at Tabitha. And Tabitha moved really well. And Loopy has a hard time with that same type of movement.
And when she can't get the takedowns, things change for her a little bit.
Things change. And the other thing that Tabitha did really well is she timed her takedowns. She lulled Jillian into thinking that she was just striking, and then she would blast double. And then, as I mentioned, every time we talk about Tabitha will shoot a double leg, and then she hits her inside trip off of the double leg, or she'll pull a single leg up and then hit her inside trip off of the single leg.
It's beautiful. How her knees work like that.
I love it. I think it's some of the most gorgeous wrestling that we see in MMA, and I love that move.
Which is really weird for her because her wrestling is not traditionally very good, but that is it's the one move that she just
it's her judo background. She has a judo background.
That's right.
And so she will wrestle until she can't get it, and then she uses her trips.
I totally forgot about that. Good, yeah.
And her striking in the room is much better than her striking in the cage. That said, her striking in the cage has gotten better and better and better every time out. So I think she's getting more comfortable there. And we saw her fight Manon Furio a weight class up. And look, she took a beating, but she didn't get knocked out clean and starched. And, and I like...
She'll grind till the very end.
She will.
And she's literally a super
Even though she
athlete.
does, I hate that her chin is just up in the air. But she does have a good, she has a decent chin. And these two are both really short people. And built like blocks. I don't see there's going to be some bully factor or anything.
No, they're two specimens. Yeah. And Loopy's maybe a little bit bigger, but really not.
But I think Tabitha has a better cardio.
I think she has a better cardio. She really is not that much bigger.
Yeah.
I've been around both of them. Loopy is, pretty jacked in her arms, but Tabitha's just her core strength is pretty insane, actually.
And she's a gymnast. She looks like a gymnast.
Yeah. Where's USADA?
No more. All right, so I like Tabitha. You like Tabitha. We're going the Roosevelt Roberts train hard, and now we're up to Steve Erceg and Alessandro Costa.
Yep, great fight. I want to keep this one short. I'm winding. I'm getting tired.
Yeah, we had some espresso at 9:00 at night, and we're still asleep.
Yeah, why not? I like this one. I think Alessandro Costa is a lot better than I kind of had taped him before. He looked good in the UFC, but again, it's Jimmy Flick. And he did good against Albazi in some parts and some pieces. Really, Erceg's 5'8". He's really tall for the weight class. He manages range super, super well. Although he does get hit from time to time, he does have a very good gauge of his distance. His offensive striking is really clean. Most of all, his jiu-jitsu is really, really, really good. The way that he takes backs, the way that he I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but his jiu-jitsu is very solid. Honestly, as long as he doesn't step in too hard and get clipped by one of these big telegraph looping left hooks from Costa, I think Erceg's such a clean pick here. He's top 5-10 in the division.
Yeah, I like Costa. He does three things. He has a overhand, he has a left hook to the body, and he has a calf kick. And they're all really good, and he does a really good job of throwing them individually, and then he does a really good job of mix and matching them well enough to disguise the other. And he'll go left hook to the body, then low kick. Then he'll go left hook to the body, overhand, low kick. He does a really good job at that. His defensive wrestling is pretty good, sprawl, and he does a lot of stuff well. He's very short and he's very compact. And I don't know that his volume and his ability to draw the fight into him against somebody as big as Usyk and who really looked good against a top 10 guy in the world in Dvorak and on short notice. So you give Usyk a camp and, man, I mean, outside of his hit ability, and he's got a decent chin, he will get hit, but he ate some calf kicks too. They never bothered him.
Calf kicks is the only thing that kind of worries me here. But
I don't worry about that. Some people handle calf kicks well and some people don't. Usyk seemed like he handled them well and actually threw some back, and I think Dvorak was the one switching stances.
Yeah.
So I got to go with the guy who I think Costa is very good. But I think Usyk is a guy that's going to be top 5, top 10, possibly fight for a title someday.
Wow.
And, and that's a long stretch, but you give the guy some years.
Yeah, he was the champion in the world's greatest promotion, Eternal MMA.
Eternal MMA, that's the best.
Owner, the best family affiliated with it.
I love the promotion, but the family as a whole, I don't know about.
Kind of garbage.
But
don't look that up, guys.
I love, I'm really high on Usyk, so I could be very biased here. I do think Costa's really good, and the nuclear option is there with that left hook to the body and that right overhand, so he can definitely do some damage. I think Costa's going to have a very successful UFC career, but I think Usyk could have just a stellar career.
All right.
Pat Sabatini, Diego Lopez. Talking about these two back-to-back. If Costa has 3 moves, Diego Lopez...
lining up these Mexicans.
Yeah. And Lopez Brazilian, but living in Mexico?
Oh, yeah, same thing.
Potato. So...
Sounds like my household.
He does 3 things as well. I mean, Lopez standing, he throws his right uppercut, he throws his left hook, and a straight right. On the outside, he barely jabs, and he almost always starts with that big left hook. That is a problem because if you don't set that big left hook up, and the way that Lopez stands, he's actually really, for as long and tall as he is, he fights very short. What I mean by that is his hands are glued to his face, which isn't wrong by any means, but he doesn't use his range and he doesn't use his jab to keep shorter opponents away from him. So because his hands are so close to his head, instead of like floating out or like reaching a little bit, opponents get a little bit closer to him than I think they would normally do with somebody that height and range. And if he is leading with that left hook and they just go under him, he's giving up the shot. He's giving up the takedown there. And especially you miss a left hook and your left hip is forward and you're off balance. And that plays right into Sabatini's hand. Now, I really like that Lopez throws that right uppercut in close range quite a lot. He does that. But his best punch, I think, is his straight right. And I think it's kind of his stance as well. For as bad as his stance is, and not as bad, I don't mean it that way, but for the detriment of the range is of that his stance provides him throwing that left hook, I think people are more comfortable walking into him because he doesn't put anything there. So when he throws that right hand, I think they run into it. I think he kind of lulls them a little bit, and it's like, oh, we're close here. And then he fires that right hand, and they don't realize, whoa, I'm actually that close, because he doesn't put feelers out there for you to kind of realize like how close or far you are. Him off of his back is very good, man. He's a sharp jiu-jitsu guy who's very active. His cardio is great. We saw that with the Evloev fight, short notice fight. I mean, he has great cardio. If you actually go back, though, it's funny. I think his jiu-jitsu off of his back, his armbars and triangles, like we just saw him with, was it Gavin Tucker that he armbar triangled recently? So that I think is really good. And he throws the armbar up, and we saw him do that with Brito, and we saw him do that with Evloev, and he throws the armbar up. I think his back, playing off of his back jiu-jitsu, is better than his top game MMA grappling rear naked choke game, because we saw that in his fight before he got pulled up to the UFC. He had this guy's back who didn't have anywhere near the grappling chops as him, and he had him mounted, was taking his back, and just wasn't able to finish him until he hurt him, and then he was able to finish him. he's going against Pat Sabatini, where I don't think Sabatini is going to fall victim to a triangular and armbar.
No,
from off of somebody's back. So then if he stays on his back, he's going to lose the round, I think, that way, with Sabatini gets the takedown. If he tries to get up, I think he's actually might be in more trouble, because that's where Sabatini does real work. You start to get up, he throws that hook in, he starts grabbing the wrist, and he starts beating the crap out of you. I think this is Sabatini's fight to lose, and the only way that I see him like losing it, though, is if this gets in a round 3 and he's a little slower, and, you know, we see Diego Lopez really start swinging on him. Man, I could see that happening, but I like the guy that I said it with Brian Battle. Lightning doesn't strike. Lightning's not going to strike twice, and it did. And we already saw that with Sabatini, with Lightning striking with that up kick from Damon Jackson. Yep. I don't think it's going to start. I don't think it's going to strike twice, but you never know.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of psycho in him. He's got a little of that, like, I just see red in my eyes, like a little bit of like he's dead behind
like
the
a hollow eyes.
It's crazy, Sabatini, and I love that. Honestly, for me, it just comes down to this: Sabatini's striking is like really like not that good. He's so square, and he kind of loops everything overhands, and it's just, I don't like his striking, but it's a means to an end for him to grapple. And I really think his grappling is amongst the best in the division, maybe even amongst the best in the UFC. People can argue with me all they want, but for me, this is going to be Diego Lopez is definitely a high level black belt in terms of skill and ability and teaching and all that stuff. But his style is that of a purple belt, right? It's like crazy submissions off his back, throwing. Like
it's submission before position.
Yes.
And you think black belt or MMA style grappling, and it's position before submission.
Yeah, exactly. And Sabatini to me is the opposite. He's just extreme black belt, high level jiu-jitsu where he's controlling you, locking down your hips, locking down every position that he possibly can, and then he's punching and punching and punching and punching and punching. I love that style. I love the trip takedowns. It's such low energy. He's such a grinder on top. And I think that Diego is honestly going to be kind of willing to be on his back. Like sometimes when guys are that good off their back, they're willing to go there. Like, ooh, take me down, right? I've heard people say that, like, oh, take me down, I'll armbar you. And then all of a sudden you find out when someone's head is in your chest that it's not so easy to armbar you anymore. I mean, banking on Diego just catching Sabatini coming in, that's a really tough thing to bank on when you look at the course of 15 minutes in a fight.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
You said banking on that. If Diego Lopez had really good takedown defense, you could assume that he could at some point defend and start to pick him apart. But he doesn't have the takedown defense, so now it's like he's almost got to swing and land really fast
before he gets taken down.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So for me, when I'm making bets or when I'm breaking down film and seeing who's going to win, it's who's the better fighter over the course of the 15 minutes. And not that I think Diego's bad. I really like Diego's striking. Listen, he's straight out of Fury FC. Fury's the greatest promotion on God's green earth.
He's a super nice guy, too. He really is a really nice guy. I spent some time with him in Vegas a little bit. And
dude, who the hell was I talking to? It was like, I had a relationship with Diego, and he doesn't even speak English. Oh, it's hilarious. Anyways, funny. He's from the world's second greatest promotion. It goes Eternal MMA, then Fury FC. Don't mess with Fury. But on this one, unfortunately, it's Cage Fury. It's Mr. Sabatini himself, but I think he's going to dominate on top. I think that Diego is going to be willing to play off his back, and honestly, like that could sub him. I could see it.
Talking about Cage Fury, I think that might be the best regional promotion to be a champion in.
They really are good. Now. And the reason is it's all regional, right? You think about it, wrestling is the one thing that controls everything. And when you have that Northeast region, it's New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio and all these really good wrestling states. And then it's the high-level wrestlers and the world-class athletes that are learning how to fight. So that's why I think that region is so strong.
I agree.
Okay.
Next up, we have... look, people, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is on the main card. I don't know. Fact check me. I don't care. If it's on the main card, buy the card. Who cares about the co-main event with Sergey Pavlovich and Aspinall? It doesn't matter. Who cares about Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira? You guys, it doesn't matter. Stop. You have Matt Frevola fighting Saint Denis. Like Benoit, is it Benoit? Saint Denis? Yeah, first of all, Benoit is the most French thing on the planet. I don't even know if that's a human or a baguette or something like that, a food item. This is the most exciting fight of the year for me.
I'm a little bricked up. Can you keep the camera a little bit higher for just a minute, and then you can lower it back down? I'm bricked up.
Like, tell me this is just the most exciting fight ever. These two morons, and I say that
respectfully
and in the MMA sense.
Frevola's one of you. He's a little ginger.
Yeah.
Day walker.
And these guys, I cannot fathom that this is anything but just two meatheads swinging and just, and even in a grappling area, these are not going to be technical. Somebody's going to grab somebody and throw somebody down and they're going to like roll through and pop back up and swing. And this is going to be the fight of the year. And neither of these guys has anything but just go forward and swing.
And you cursed it. Now they're going to stay at range and jab each other.
No, they're not. I'm not going to curse it because Saint Denis is going to come out and just button mash 5,000 left middle kicks in a row. Just
First of all, is such a great strategy. Was it him or was it somebody else that threw like 5 in a row and like broke someone's forearm in the first round?
I don't know, but he did that to the Bonfim. I don't know if he broke his arm.
Oh, he did. Yeah,
he just kick. He just went. He just sent. Full send, all effort.
More people need to do that. It literally is so effective.
Our guy Curtin, his fight this last weekend, threw a left head kick, pulled back, looked like he was going to reset, and just threw another left head kick. It was awesome. It made my day. But, dude, Saint Denis on the outside is going to spam left middle kicks. He's going to grab Frevola and try to strike with him. Try to grapple with him, drag him down. Frevola, who took on Arman Sarukian short notice, like, man, is doing Grambies. It took Sarukian down. He's not going to get tired with the grappling. He's going to be okay with the chaos. And he's going to swing hands in that chaos. And I think both these guys are a little chinny. They've both been hit and hurt a little bit. But I think Frevola's boxing is better, and he rolls better, and he mixes his boxing with his wrestling better in the chaos. And I think when this goes nuclear, I think Frevola is going to be the one with a little bit better cardio and a little bit better, I don't want to say striking because that's a bad
His striking is better.
No, it is, but I don't mean on a more technical thing. I mean when he swings, he's going to do a better job of finding the chin of Saint Denis in the chaos, whereas I don't think Saint Denis is going to find the left middle kicks or the knees as well as he will hope to in close against Frevola. And for that reason, I go Frevola, and I'm out.
I like Frevola too. I was joking about it, 2 weeks ago? I was like, the Saint Denis fade has never worked for me. Like, I can't continue to do it. He's good. He is good. He's a grinder. He's got a great chin. He comes forward. He's huge, massive pressure. But then I think about Matt Frevola, and the knock on Frevola forever has been his chin, but the dude can take punches. And like, I was on Frevola against Drew Dober, which not many people were.
Nobody was. I was on Dober, and you were on Frevola.
I saw the fight going very differently.
Yeah.
Very differently. I was like, I like Frevola because Frevola can grind and wrestle and make it dirty and wear him out. And then it just didn't go that way at all. And I'm literally sitting watching the fight like, Matt, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. You're going to get chinned. You're going to get chinned. And then he just, boom, knocks him out. Crazy. So maybe he doesn't take the path of least resistance, but the dude can fight. And he's good everywhere. His Muay Thai is amazing. His scrambles are really, really good.
Have you seen his picture on Tapology?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It looks like me right now, but with leather.
It looks like he was being Indiana Jones on Halloween, and they took a picture.
Sick. I like Frevola here. I think in New York, he's going to catch that French chin. He's going to show why America's awesome and France sucks.
I'm reading a book about Churchill right now. It's called The Splendid and the Vile. It's one of the best. Gosh, I love it. I love it. I love hearing about Churchill. I love reading about Churchill. And right now, I'm only maybe a third of the way through it, is when France gave up.
Cucks.
And they set a truce with Germany, and they said, we're out. And for that reason, I'm going for Vola.
Hey, Siri. I've always dreamed of doing that. My phone just went off, but I've always dreamed of doing that. I forgot we have a podcast that we've been doing for the last 2 years. And I remember on Rogan's podcast, people would say that, and then everybody's phone goes crazy and pops up. And so I was like, why don't I start saying, hey, Siri, you know? And then everyone who's listening to this, their phone going to pop up just like mine just did. Hey, Siri.
That's like an Easter egg troll right there.
I love it.
I love it.
You have to be deep into the podcast, a true fan, and you're going to be really pissed off when I hear me say, hey, Siri, again. Yep. There we go.
Siri's going hard in the paint. All right, next up we have Jessica Andrade and Mackenzie Dern. I'm going to go on this one first because I don't have a lot to say. I watched tape. None of that matters. My thought process here is the same with Derek Lewis. He's just done fighting and he's collecting paychecks.
Big paychecks. And Jessica Andrade, I believe, lost a lot of her money via wife leaving her, stole everything, and now she's collecting paychecks. These women out here are...
They're ruthless. You think guys are bad? She's lost her last few in a row. She doesn't look like she's putting in a concerted effort anymore. And Mackenzie Dern... her cardio looks better. She's swinging. She doesn't have great wrestling, but she does a good job of like fighting in those grappling moments and wiggling.
She just tries really hard and eventually gets it.
And she has a will to win for 15 minutes. She could be losing for 14 minutes and 59 seconds, and she is going to try to win that very last second. And for nothing more than the will to win, I got to go Mackenzie here.
Yeah, I just put a big play on Mackenzie. She's minus 174 right now, which I think is a really low price on somebody who's going up. Versus Andrade, who I just feel like is like, she's done. She's quitting. And, you know, I've heard a lot about Jessica, and she's training at Extreme Couture. And I think Extreme is kind of a fractured place to train at. It just sounds like everybody is just kind of doing their own thing there.
They have a lot of good people and a lot of really good coaches.
Great rooms, great people.
And I really like Eric Nixick. Man, he's a better human than I. Like, when Kelvin beat Chris Curtis, I went up to Chris Curtis, and he was pretty rude after the fact.
Yeah. Did he block you in real life?
And, you know, and I was like, whoa. And, you know, and Nixick was like, hey, man, you know, like... you know, don't worry about it. He's just upset, this and this and that. And he was like, I thought Kelvin won that. I don't know if Nixick thought that Curtis thought Curtis won that. I think Curtis thinks he wins everything. I don't know if Nixick thought that they got robbed or this or that or whatever, but he was super cool. And our guy, Henry Corrales just lost to Kai Kamaka. And I really, really, really thought Corrales won that fight.
I really did
and
too.
I thought he won all 3 rounds.
And I like Kai Kamaka a lot. Kai is like the first MMA fighter that followed our Instagram account for MMA breakdowns.
I have known
bets.
Kai Kamaka since he was 9 years old. I lived in his family's gym in Hawaii, and I fought in Hawaii, and little Kai and his brother Tristan were the only 2 people cheering me in an arena. So I love Kai, and I love his whole family. I know them well. I thought Henry won. And when they announced like Kai as the winner, I was a real cunt. I was a cunt. I was annoyed. I was mad. And man, Eric took the split decision loss, or, you know, Eric took the loss with Curtis much better and much more professionally than I did with Kai and Henry. And I actually messaged both of them after the fact and said, hey, look, I'm really sorry for being a cunt. And they were both super cool. Like, no, don't worry. I really,
Kai? You messaged Kai?
Yeah, I messaged Kai because I was a cunt to him afterwards. And not a real cunt. I was trying to be nice, and I was trying not to be so much of a dick.
But we love Henry so much.
But I was just very upset. And we took pictures with Kai and all of us afterwards. And I didn't mean to be rude, but I really was. I really did think we won that fight. And man, Eric is just a solid guy. He really is a nice guy. And I think he does a really good job training his guys. I also really like Dennis Davis over there as well. And they have Jake Shields. They have a lot of really good talent there.
But you also have 1,000 people that are talented.
You have 1,000 people. And then it's not like it's not like Eric is training everybody there. There's certain different coaches doing different stuff, kind of like ATT. And so it kind of depends on who you're working with and who your group is. And I think if you have Eric and Davis you're doing really well. And if you don't get those two as much, you're probably not going to be doing as well. So
I think Andrade on her way out, I think EPO McKenzie is pretty much an unmovable force at this point. I think she can beat her on the feet. She's got a crazy chin. She's just like so inherently tough. If Jessica clinches with her, she works to the judo a lot of times, right? Her dad is Megaton, and
Mackenzie's not throwing anyone with her judo.
She could throw somebody.
Nah.
Just a little shitty head arm. She could do it.
I'm not buying that. I think she wins, but D1 Mackenzie hasn't shown up yet.
That's not D1. That's
Epone Mackenzie hasn't shown up yet. Yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah,
I think she wins, but let's settle down.
All right, Mackenzie.
Man, co-main event: Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall. Give us your thoughts on this one.
Aspinall, more talented, more technical, more beautiful. Sergey has just an awesome style. He stays within himself. He moves forward. He throws big, heavy power punches, and he doesn't tire himself out because he doesn't overcommit to anything, which is pretty amazing considering how big he is and how like almost robotic and stiff he is. Tom's going to have to work really hard for this one, and Pavlovich is not. That being said, Tom is so freaking good. His blast doubles are amazing. His jiu-jitsu for a heavyweight, honestly, is very, very, very impressive. His striking is really clean, really technical. He keeps range really well. He counters back. I remember a long time ago, this dude said that, I can't remember who it was. Maybe John Star. I don't know his name. Whatever. Fuck you too, John. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Enzo. Cover your ears. But he was like, yeah, he's so basic. And I was like, first of all, no, he's not. And second of all, he's just very good striker. He's beautiful. The one problem that we've always had, always talked about is his chin is so far up in the air. And to me, I mean, I think at any point, Tom could be up 3-0 and Pavlovich can step up in the pocket and catch that at any time. This is just a weird one to me. I think this is one for me to just like sit back and watch. I'm going to pick Tom because I think Tom can take down Sergey, be on top, submit him, do a lot, make this fight look dramatically one-sided. But at the same time that Pavlovich can step up in the pocket, meet him right in the middle, not back down, not move away, and I think he could crack Tom, and that part is really scary for me. But I'm going with the more technical, more beautiful guy in Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, this comes down to Tom's chin. And not his actual like ability to take a punch, but literally his chin is just up in the air. And every time he exits with his hands reaching and that chin really high. And then it comes down to the takedown defense of Pavlovich. And he does a decent job stuffing shots, but we've seen him get taken down by Alistair in really that was a clinch affair. Alistair shot out in the open, Curtis Blade shot out in the open, and Pavlovich stuffed those shots. And they're kind of shitty half-ass shots anyway, but whatever, he stuffed them. When Alistair got Pavlovich down, it was from the clinch. And even before he got him down, he kind of tried a couple of trips and didn't get it, but he had really good head position, and Pavlovich didn't fare well in the clinch with him. And he was uncomfortable. You saw him moving. It wasn't working. And then you saw Alistair get the trip, take him down, ground upon the shit out of him, and we're done. And Tom Aspinall actually performs the same way in the clinch. If you watch him, he is grinding his head. He's staying close. He's doing a really good job of getting people
elbows
tall.
Off the break. He's clean.
Elbows off the break. And then he goes, of course, he could find some trips and stuff in there. This is going to be one of those fights where afterwards you go, oh, of course that happened. And
one way or the other.
It's so weird because to me, I look at it as such a 50-50 fight because you said it. Sergey is so clean and just so minimalist, and it was really good. And as a lot of Russians do, not the Dagestani grappling Russians with the neckbeards, but the proper Russians from Moscow like Fedor, they cast their punches. And when I say that, it's thumbs down, it's always rolling. Even a jab is like rolling your hands down. And so everything over the top is casted. And Pavlovich does a really good job of like, it looks like an overhand's going to come, and then he like knifes it up the middle and he stabs it this way. And he finds these holes in non-traditional angles and areas, and he lands really well from these non-traditional angles. But Aspinall is really fast as well in the pocket. We saw him with Orlovsky throw like 47 punch combos. You're like, whoa, those hands are fast, ripping body shots. But then he knew not to adrenaline himself out. And what I thought he did was the most impressive with Orlovsky is in that second round, just blast double him, put him on the mat. And you don't see Orlovsky get taken down like that at all. Like nobody is doing that fast, that dynamic. I get it, it's an older Orlovsky, whatever. Can Aspinall get that blast double? I think if it stays standing, I think eventually Pavlovich is going to win. And can Tom's speed and athleticism and everything else? I really am on the fence here. I mean, this is almost a coin toss for me. I'm going to go Pavlovich.
Just to play the opposite.
No, just because I think Tom has got to get the fight to the ground. I think a lot of stuff has to happen for Tom to win, whereas Pavlovich, I think less has to happen, that less unknowns have to occur. And because of that, I think I think Pavlovich does what he's going to do. He's going to stay sharp. We know that he's going to defend the doubles on the outside and keep his chin down and throw those punches. Whereas Tom, he's got to not get clipped, and I think he's got to get a takedown and he's got to not get clipped. But him not getting clipped, I think, means he has to get a takedown.
Yes. This reminds me of the breakdown for Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. And remember, I remember that announcement being made, and I was like, Benny's going to kill him. Like, he's going to just destroy him. Like, Charles doesn't defend takedowns that well. Like, he stays on his back. He does all stuff. Benny's so good at jiu-jitsu. And then the closer we got to the fight, the breakdown for me was like as simple as this. It was like, Benny's going to have to work so hard to win this fight, and Charles does not.
Yep.
He can just end this at any time with his hands and a nice hook and whatever, but Benny's going to have to grind it out for 15 straight minutes. And that reminds me a little bit of this matchup, so it doesn't even make sense why I'm picking Aspinall, but Aspinall is going to have to really work hard for this one. Just that big Russian body, purely like moving that big, giant Russian body, and Pavlovich doesn't have to work that hard. Like, he can just step up in the pocket, swing those big bombs, and he could end this at any time.
Yeah. So there you have it. All right, main event. Jiri Prochazka, Alex Pereira. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, what the hell are you doing? Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, don't watch. If you're not subscribing, you're watching,
if you're not
don't.
subscribing and liking, like, we don't want you. We don't want you. And this is a free show on YouTube. The least you could do for payment is just subscribe.
Listen, Ashley Evans Smith just watched this last week. She loved the show.
Yeah, she posted it. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel. That's your no-cent payment. It's free. Hit the button, jerk. Right. Or not jerk, or awesome human. If you hit subscribe, we love you. We love you. We love you. If you didn't, boo. All right, man. We got Jiri Prochazka, Alex Pereira. Go.
This fight, I have always been a Jiri hater. I don't know what it is about him. I hate his style. It's entertaining to watch, but not one that I would try to mimic. I guess maybe I just hate him because I ain't him. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd be like, yeah, I think I'm really cool.
Yeah, if I had a top knot and I was like sitting in waterfalls, like, that's the life. That's super cool.
He spent 3 days, I just saw, and I didn't even click on the detail. I just saw the headline. So if this is wrong, you guys tell me I'm an asshole. I saw a headline that he spent 3 days with no food or water in the dark.
For why? This dude, David Blaine?
Dude's just gangster.
For why?
I know. I don't know.
He does the most random shit I've ever seen in my life, but whatever. I like Alex Pereira here. I mean, I see a lot of people on Alex, and I think it just makes sense. Like, he has such a interesting style, and we've said it before, like, traditionally, he's not like a perfect kickboxer, but you said this on the last podcast, and this is 100% right. He's developed his style for him. He's 6'4", and he's got a left hook from God, so he keeps his hands down because it draws people in. If he were to keep his hands up and stay super, perfect and technical, nobody would ever engage with him. And now he's playing at range with people when his bread and butter is that left hook, right? So he stays hands down. The other thing I want to talk about too, just because it's a prayer fight, that video that went around of him sparring Khalil Ko. Khalil's an amazing boxer. I love watching boxing 10 times more than I like watching MMA, because to me it's just amazing. You can make this, and they both have to work for you. Whereas MMA, you can grapple and be a submission. You can be a specialist. In boxing, you got this option and this option. How do we make these the best possible? And that is such a beautiful art to me, just so simple, making it so tough. Khalil is amazing. The guy is such a great boxer. And then the boxing community cut out all the clips of Alex beating his ass and just clipped up the one time that he came over the top and cracked him. I'm like, all right, whatever. Alex is really good. Amazing power, amazing kickboxing. I don't think the grappling is playing a factor here. I like Alex Pereira in this fight. Go ahead and give. I know you were super passionate about this one, but for me, it's Alex Pereira.
Initially, when I saw this matchup, I thought Prochazka is going to win before I watched tape because just the movement and the in and out, and as a whole, I think traditional Muay Thai or kickboxers as a whole, whether it's a Dutch style or Brazilian style or Muay Thai style, I think they don't fare as well to movers in MMA because the distance and the range, and I said it earlier with the Loopy fight, it takes two people to do anything. And Muay Thai is traditionally like, I'm here, you're here, we touch, we kick, we go. And in Muay Thai, it's non-traditional to back up. To like feint and move away. It's like, no, you stay in the pocket, you throw, we check kicks. We don't get out of the way of kicks. And I'm being very like, I'm over exaggerating it, but that's kind of the traditional style. Boxing, even when you're moving, it's a square space. You can cut people off. There's angles versus a circular or octagonal shape where you can create more space. And so when you have two people willing to throw down, you get fights like that. And then when you have two people standing on the outside, you get touch and tag fights. And then when you have one person trying to fight and another moving, you have like an Amir Albazi fight where he's just making people miss and go and sharpshooting. And so that was my initial thought. I love how Jiri mixes his in and out. He bounds around like he's on a trampoline and he's just like a deer galloping around. And he's really off rhythm, and you don't know, is he coming to strike or is he just feinting or is he moving and he switches his stances and then he snipes his punches in and he uses his movement as the setup to his strike. Instead of a jab, he doesn't need a jab. He has this bounding movement that it kind of lulls you and you're like, whoa, is he throwing or not? And then he's so dynamic in his attacks that he's throwing punches and then spinning and then his middle kicks, and there's that. I also love that he hand fights the lead hand in the opposite stance, in an open stance, and it shuts down a lot of attacks. His grappling is weirdly fine, even though it's bad. like take that for what it's worth. It's like he's mounted and he gives up his back and he's in a full choke and he slides out and pops up. It's like,
yeah.
I don't get it. He's like, it's like he's greased up all the time or something, and he just Houdini's his way out. If there's any grappling in this, I give the edge to Pereira from
his work with Glover, and he's looked really good. And
his work with Glover, but his time in kickboxing, his clinch, his Thai style clinch, you know what I mean? I think it's good. I think he had a lot of success with Izzy there, and I think he's used to it and whatever. And then of course he had his work with Glover. But the thing that Pereira does is he's just fundamentally sound. Like if you look at Prochazka, when people swing at him, it's such big movements to try to get back offline and try and get out of the way of these strikes and try to like bring his hands all the way up when his hands are at his hips. There's such big movements. And he's off balance, and he's not always ready. And Pereira just isn't there. His stance is a little bit more narrow, and he's bouncing on his feet, almost like a karate guy. The way that he bounces,
really does move like a karate guy
without the wide stance. His feet are more narrow, so he can check kicks really well and fire kicks really well off of both legs. But he kind of bounces the same way the karate guys do, so that allows him to kind of close distance or exit a little bit easier. And the way that he bounces right there, in that hand is low, as people come in, he can use that lead check hook, which is his best weapon, because he's not planning. And remember, an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Unless acted upon by an outside force.
I don't know what that means. I just came up with that, my first part. Like, I don't know what that just sounds dumb. But, and he's not planted, stuck in the ground. And he's bouncing and moving. And so when he does go to move, it draws people in, and he can do that. And it's a false sense of distance that draws people in. I'll end it there. I like Pereira. I think just fundamentally he is just so much more sound. I think him going up in weight is going to be good for him. I think his chin is going to be better. I think he's going to hit harder. I think he's going to be more durable. I do like Prochazka's movement, and he's just so creative. He's fun to watch. I do think this is going to actually be a very fun fight. I don't think it's going to be let's play on the outside and play it safe type of thing. And the reason for that is I think both of these guys, like Izzy and Pereira, know each other so well. They know what each other is capable of.
Yeah.
I think Prochazka is going to be like, dude, I know where you're at. You've got to come to me. Here's my rhythm, and I'm going to snipe you. And I think Pereira is like, dude, I'm Alex. I'm the glory kickboxer. You think you know what you're doing, but I actually know what I'm doing. So let's fight.
I'll take Brazil over the Czech Republic any day.
Oh, all day long. Like where's the Czech Republic? Is that
I
near
love
Chile? Is that
goddamn
in South
Brazil,
America or something like that? Like, is that in like near the Congo? Like where is that? What does that mean?
I'll check a map.
Jeez. You guys, we're done. We're gonna get this up.
Guys, we need a tagline. Every podcast, every good radio, it's an old radio thing. Everybody ends with a tagline.
WNBC.
Yeah, or Adam Carolla, mahalo. Just simple. If you guys can think of a tagline that we should do, I'll give you $10. You drop it in the comments, and if we use it, I'll give you $10 per show in perpetuity. No, I'm just kidding. $10
Once.
one-time payment. It's no effort. That's the easy thing.
I'm good with that.
Tagline.